We are live. Darryl Daniels, bro.
What's
What's up,
up,
man?
man? Good to see you, man. It's been a long time, man. It's been a really long time.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen you in person. I've been in Bend for 7 years and then probably 3 years, almost 10 years, man.
Right.
Too
Yeah,
long.
I moved to downtown Phoenix 6 years ago. So, and it was probably a couple of years before then we saw each other.
Yeah, well, you're looking good, man. I mean, I was on your Facebook page that I was like, Jiminy Cricket 65 and just cut.
Man, taking care of the guns, man.
Dude, you got the guns, that's for sure. So I'm gonna set this up real quick. So I've been for you guys that are plugging in, I've been made kind of a commitment to get different people, different backgrounds that are super successful in what they do, entrepreneurship and so on, to just have kind of like these open mic chats where we just get together, shoot the shit, if you will, and talk business, talk shop, and bring you guys some value to your entrepreneurial journey. So Darryl and I actually met probably, I don't know, 14 years ago at an event that I was speaking at. Ended up doing some coaching with him, and just got to know each other, him and his wife, and just super cool people. He's been in the fitness space for like 40 years. What are you 65 now? Is that where you're at?
65, man. Headed towards 66.
What month is your birthday?
January.
Okay, I'm February, so I'll be 57 in February. So
you're just a kid, brother. You're just a kid.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Like, it's so crazy because like so many people, like you walking around with, I don't even know, like what's your body fat right now? Like low?
Probably about 9%, 8 or 9%.
9%. I mean, walking around at 9% at 65, pushing 66 is insane. To like you look around. I mean, dude, you're in better shape than most like 20-year-olds. Seriously. And you've been in the fitness space for 40 plus years, personal fitness trainer, all bodybuilder, all sorts of different certifications. And then didn't you so you had some recent deal that you did with like that's mostly like young guys do it. Like it's some high level bodybuilding championship that's mostly like 20-year-olds.
Well, no. So the IFBB, which is like it's like in bodybuilding, it's like the highest rank you can get is being an IFBB pro. And that was something when I was in my 20s and I was a young bodybuilder. That was like my goal in life. I wanted to be an IFBB pro. Then I made the decision in the early 90s, after I competed nationals, I was qualified to, go compete to try and become a pro. But I made the decision at that point that, hey, you know what? There's really not money here unless you're one of the top 10 guys in the world, literally. Genetically, I knew I wasn't. And I put all my efforts into building my business. And it just kind of happened that, in the last few years, the IFBB created, a master's pro card, so they kind of bought that opportunity back for me. And luckily, I didn't let myself go to shit, trash my body and, that type of thing. So I was able to, life just worked out where I was able to jump in and compete and, go get that pro card in 2019. So, I was like, okay, people, I'm telling the young people, man, don't let your dreams die. I'm telling the older people, hey, if you had dreams that you had when you were young and you're still healthy and you can still do it, go for it, man. Go get them dreams. Don't let them die inside you.
Yeah, man, it's never too late, right? That's just crazy. So 40 years, like, so have you, like, I mean, I've known you for 14 years. Every time I've seen you, you're in like tip top shape, but like staying in, like, have you stayed in like just that kind of shape for 40 years? Like, I mean, did you get fat ever? Like, I mean, I don't know, like fat for you is probably different for other people. But...
yeah. Cause I mean, I had such a base to work from, but I had a little point in my life where I stepped, out of the fitness business after I, been in the industry for about 15 years. And I started investing in real estate, working with a group of guys doing that. And the lifestyle was just completely different, bro. It was like, hanging out at cigar stores and drinking during the day, going out to dinner every night. But even during that period, I still maintained, getting to the gym 3 days a week, wasn't hitting it, like I did when I was, in my bodybuilding time, but I still stayed fit. So in my mind, I got out of shape, to the point. One of my defining moments was I was sitting in my backyard one day, and big picture window on the back of my house. I was sitting by the pool. I had a bottle of Patron sitting on the counter. I was smoking a cigar, and I look like crap, bro, in my opinion. And I just caught this image of myself in my mirror, and I was just like, man, what have you done to yourself, bro? What have you become? Now, keep in mind, for the average person, I was still fit, but to myself, I knew what I was doing to myself. I wasn't being true to myself. And at that moment, I was like, I got to do something, and I had, a bunch of gym equipment in storage because, Heather and I owned a brick and mortar for a lot of years. And literally that day, I went and rented a trailer, loaded the trailer up, took half of my garage, converted it to a man cave. And just the way my mindset works, I was like, bro, you gotta get through this with like punishment, grit, hard work. You got to get back to being Darryl Daniels. And I started getting up at 3:00 every morning, just going out in the garage, pounding. And I was like, man, I'm going to get it back. And that was actually a very interesting thing happened. A guy that I'd been doing a bunch of real estate deals in New Mexico with called me, and he had just joined a network marketing company. And he's like, bro, you got to check out this product, blah, blah, blah. So I mentioned it to Heather, and someone that she had competed with, like in the mid 2000s, had just announced that they were in the company. And she's like, oh, hey, Jenny's in that company. Let's check it out. So that kind of moved us into, getting into network marketing for a few years. It supported my fitness business. And man, I just got back to just being true to myself, man. It's like, all I'm doing now is staying true to myself. And I like to kind of joke around and tell people, it's like, well, vanity has gotten me to where I am now, because I've always cared, about how I look and how I felt. And being in the fitness business, I've always wanted to be a man that leads the ship by example. I'm never going to tell a client to do something that I haven't done or that I'm not doing. It's like, why would people follow me if I'm not successful at what I'm doing? So that kind of drives me, man. It has me where I am now at 65. I mean, I just look at it and I'm like, shit, how's 65 happen? I'm still the same dude. I'm just 65.
Yeah.
And according to my wife, I'm 13. So
I don't know how old my wife would say I am. So I'm probably in my young 20s or something like that. I don't know. I don't think you want to grow up too much, man. Nothing wrong with being mature, but like, it's right. So funny. Like, people get, what's crazy to me is people who are like 40 or 45. They're like, oh, I'm old, or I'm too old for that. And I'm constantly telling people, I'm like, dude, stop using that word. Like you're describing yourself and using this word that I personally will never describe myself using that word, because I think it's like you're telling, as soon as you start telling yourself that, then your cells start to believe it and your body starts to believe it. And then you get aches and pains, and you stop doing the things you used to do. I mean, I see people that are like, I ski 50, 60 days a season, and I'm skiing with guys that are 65, 70, 75 that are shredding, guys that are hiking up mountains, 2,000, 3,000 vertical feet and then skiing it back down. Their cardio is insane. And then there's guys that can't walk up a flight of stairs.
But bro, you hit it right on the point, man. It's mindset. The mindset and self-talk and what you tell yourself is so powerful that people just don't get that. I mean, it's like when you convince yourself that you can do it, you can freaking do it. You just have to get out there and do it. You can't tell yourself that you're old. You can't, man, as far as I know, I've never seen like a time limit being on a set of squats. I'll get dudes in the gym like, oh yeah, well, you shouldn't squat after 40. It's like, who told you that bullshit? You squat as long as you can squat. Yeah. In fact, you should be. In fact, I go, let me tell you this. What are you doing every time you sit in a chair and stand up? You just did a squat. So you're going to turn 40, you're going to quit sitting in a chair?
Hey, so let me speaking of squats, let me ask you a quick question. So when it comes to like a regular bar squat where you're holding the bar back here,
Yeah.
like I have always had such a hard time doing that because like my arms, my flexibility, like I can get it back here, but like when it's resting on my neck, it's always so uncomfortable that I've shied away from squats and done presses and extensions and anything but like me holding a bar and doing an actual squat. So like what do you give me some advice? What can I go do so I can like work my legs without necessarily wrenching my neck trying to do a squat, because it's been always so uncomfortable for me for like, I mean, as long as I've lifted weights.
So one of the things I like to recommend to people is doing a deficit squat, where basically you would take, two boxes, like two 12-inch or 16-inch boxes, stand on the boxes, hold a dumbbell or a kettlebell between your legs, and then just squat down to 90 degrees or a little bit below if you can. But you've got your back nice and flat. You're holding the weight in the lower position, and then you're not going to be in that position where you're holding the bar back here. If you have any type of shoulder injuries or impingements, that's going to be a little tough for you. So we just go to a variation of it.
Nice. I would have not even thought of that. So now I can start squatting again. It's funny. Yesterday I got back into the gym lifting for the first time. And like, I have a gym outside of my office here, but the first time I went back in the gym for over a year. I've been doing yoga like 4 or 5 days a week.
Right.
But like, felt so good to be back in the gym. And my 19-year-old kid is all fired up about working out. And, he started climbing. Like he never worked out at all, man. He's like this lanky, skinny kid, no definition whatsoever. I mean, trying to get him to do 10 push-ups, it was like stupid. And then he started rock climbing, and then he come home and he's all like, "Dad, check it out." He's flexing. And I'm like, dude, you got definition. He's like, I mean, he's walking around with his shirt off and like, showing me his muscles. It's so funny. Right. And I just love it, man. Cause like, I mean, think about it, how much testosterone you got when you're like 19 years of age. And if you do the work, man, you have an abundance. You have an abundance.
I get like, these kids, these young dudes, early 20s, late teens, they start asking about performance enhancing drugs. I take this, I do this. It's like, bro, listen, you got all the drugs you need in your system. You just need to eat and work your ass off. You don't need to take anything else, man. You just need to eat plenty of food and train hard, and you'll be good.
Yeah, so let's talk about food for a second, because it's so interesting to see like the last 30 years how, what a healthy diet was. I remember like, I don't know, 30 years ago, 20 years ago plus, like everybody got into the low fat craze,
right.
And it's low fat, so it's not going to make you fat. But it's just loaded with sugar. And then I think the last 10 years, like keto has definitely become way more popular. I mean, I remember when Atkins was around pre keto, which I suppose you're getting into ketosis, on an Atkins diet. But, like I worked out with this guy, Lee Ramos, for a long time. It was the first time I hired a personal fitness trainer. I remember handing him $700 and going, and this guy at the time was like 55, 10% body fat, looked great. I'm like, okay, I'm going to train with this guy. And I handed him the money, and I was like, I had nerves in my stomach because I'm like, oh shoot, now I'm going to have to now I can't eat pizza, man. I'm like,
now I got to perform.
Yeah. Like I got to he's like, why did you gain weight this week? Like, oh, I ate 2 burritos yesterday and a pizza or something. But I didn't actually. I was pretty tight, but like the bodybuilding diet that has existed for so long, like, 6 egg whites, half a cup of oatmeal, eat 6 times a day, chicken, vegetables, salmon, vegetables, whatever. I think it's got to be so confusing for people right now to lose weight, because you're getting keto and you're getting vegan and you're getting this and you're getting all these different things. If somebody wants to reduce body fat and feel good and have energy, like, is there like an ideal diet for people or what?
So here's the deal. Everyone is a unique individual. We all have a different genetic makeup. We all have a different history, different lifestyle. There's so many things that can affect it. The main thing I tell people is, hey, you don't want to start excluding food groups. I mean, except for like sugar and, that type of stuff. But what we want to do is you want to get a balanced diet. And when I say balanced diet, it's mean you're eating, a good protein source, good carbohydrate source. You're eating, rice and potatoes and oatmeal and, good sources of carbs, and not white bread and sugars and pastries and that type of thing. I start every single client at a basis of 40, 30, 30. So I start them with 40% carbs, 30% protein, 30% fats. And then from that point, we start adjusting. And I do something kind of unique in my program. And I tell everybody, look, the hardest time of your program is going to be your first 3 weeks with me. Because what I do is I set up your meal plan based on numbers, because a big part of it is energy in, energy out. If you have a surplus, you're going to gain weight, could be fat. And if you have a deficit, you're going to lose weight. And hopefully that's going to be fat. So I start at that 40, 30, 30 basis, leave them on the same meal plan for 3 weeks. And our communication becomes very important at that point, because I want to know how you feel, how your energy is, how you're feeling in the gym, what's happening when you step on the scale, if you're feeling bloated, if you're feeling tight, if you're getting headaches, or if you're not getting headaches. So by the end of 3 weeks of eating this format, we're going to know if this is close to what your body needs or not. There's a certain way that you need to nourish your body, and that's really not going to change unless you have some medical issues or some other things that change in your life. So sometimes people will end up maybe switching that up to where we're at 40% protein, 30% carbs, 30% fats. But we find where that guideline is with your macros. Once I have that determined, then we can start adding variety into your plan. And here's what I always tell people. It's like, this isn't a gourmet meal plan. This is the way your body needs to be fueled to produce the results that we want to produce, which is maintaining or gaining muscle, losing fat, and feeling very good energy-wise, also feeling good mentally, being sharp, not being lethargic and, having brain fog and that type of thing. So, it's really not that far off for everybody. There's just too many options. And here's the way I look at everything. And again, I have a unique way of looking at things, Todd, because I go back to the 1980s when I started. And I really haven't varied how I've eaten for 40 years. So I'm looking at all these diets come, all these diets go. What is sustainable? Okay. The only thing that works is what is sustainable. If it's only going to work for you temporarily, that's not the right thing for you. It's going to produce temporary results because you're always going to go back to what you were doing. So we determine what's best for your body, what you should do, and then that's how you should pretty much eat for the rest of your life. If you want to put muscle on, we go to a surplus. If you want to drop weight, we get you into a deficit. So it really is that simple. I mean, people just make it too complicated. The diet industry has made it that complicated. And people trying to make this, they've made it that complicated. Give it some trick name, get people some fast results and make a lot of money. But all those people are in the diet. I mean, I always laugh at this, bro. I've seen so many people lose the same 40 pounds every single year. I'm like, aren't you tired of that shit yet? That's the same 40 pounds you lost last year, the year before that. It's like you're going nowhere.
Yeah, Hollywood diet, keto diet, right. All fruit diet, the carnivore diet.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I love meat, but it's like I can't imagine just like waking up and having a steak. And I know like Joe Rogan is like, carnivore and Peterson, but
Jordan Peterson. Yeah.
Yeah.
But see, Jordan Peterson's doing it for medical reasons.
Yeah. He and his daughter.
Yeah. They do, they do it for medical reasons.
When it comes to eating, like this, my recollection for years is like, if you're like even if you're not a bodybuilder, but if you're like, I'm looking to get in shape, it's like 6 small meals a day. Is that still a thing, or is it, 3 meals a day? And then the other thing that's become super popular is a whole, intermittent fasting, fasting for 16 hours and then OMAD or, a couple meals a day. Like, what's your thought on that, and how many times somebody should be eating every day?
So typically I will have people do, depending on what their goals are, it's going to be 3 to 4 main meals per day, and then a couple of snacks. A big factor is going to be, how long is your day? So people will say, well, I heard you shouldn't eat after 6 o'clock. I don't know. Do you go to bed at 11 o'clock or midnight? Because here's what you want to remember, the way your body uses nutrients. Your body uses nutrients. It has a protein window. It's protein pacing. About every 3 to 4 hours, you need to replenish that protein supply in your body. So you're keeping a fresh supply of amino acids and the things that your body uses to repair tissue in your body. So I have people take food in every 3 to 4 hours, whether it's a, full meal, a balanced meal, or it's a snack. And even snacks, I still balance with protein, fats, and carbohydrates. We just spread it out through the day. So, the key is keeping those nutrients in, especially if you're active, you're busy, you're working out. You got to remember that's a fuel source. Now, when you're looking at intermittent fasting, so intermittent fasting does work because basically what you do is you take your body through a cell cleansing process. I've met people that, they do it. They're like, hey, you know what? I have a 8-hour eating window. I don't eat outside of that window, and it works for them. But I always ask them the same thing. How long have you done it? And do you think it's, something that you're going to be able to do for the rest of your life? So intermittent fasting does work. It does have a purpose out there. But again, I always look for what a person can do for the rest of their life, because then it becomes sustainable. And then if you're like, hey, you know what? I want to do a cellular cleanse. Okay, yeah, let's do a fasting period. But typically what I'll do with people when I do that is like a 24, 48-hour fast, where they keep their calories below a 600 calorie window, so their body can actually get into that cellular cleansing process.
What's that called? Autophagy or something like that? Yeah. So, and the only way is there any other way to get into that other than fasting and allowing, you're not putting any kind of food into your body, and that finally gives your body cells the ability to repair and rejuvenate?
That is the most efficient way to do it.
Yeah. Wow, it's just interesting, man. Like, okay, I could probably eat keto, and I have eaten keto, but I like carbs, man. Right. And maybe not like I don't need to eat a loaf of bread or anything, but it's like I'll like eat like Dave's, Dave's healthy
killer bread. Yep, yeah, absolutely.
Just so I can have a bread fix. I actually bought some keto bread the other day. It's not too bad, believe it or not. I was like, I toasted it up, made a turkey sandwich out of it, but yeah, I mean, sustainability, because like yo up and down, like, you're talking about these people, same 40 pounds over and over again on 17 different diets.
Yeah. So you remember, your body is using carbohydrates as a source of energy, so it's breaking down those carbohydrates. Those carbohydrates are becoming glucose. That glucose stores in your muscle tissue to be utilized for energy. Your brain also runs on glucose. So those carbohydrates are healthy. Carbohydrates have just gotten a really bad name out there. And a big part of it is a label that the industry put on carbohydrates by trying to sell other types of diets. And again, it's a type of carbohydrates. So when you're looking at your carbohydrates, there's a period of time, it's called the glycemic index. It's a period of time that it takes carbohydrates to convert into glucose. So when you're looking at, simple sugars, you're looking at pastries and candy and sugar and that type of stuff, and even fruit, it converts really, really fast into sugar. So anytime you get that conversion and you get that increase in glucose, it's also going to spike insulin, because your body uses insulin to keep that glucose down. So that's why people are eating, too much sugar, too many simple carbs, on a regular basis for a long period of time. Typically you'll see it in overweight people. They get insulin sensitive. They get sensitive to carbohydrates because their body is using so much insulin all the time that pretty soon the pancreas is just like, I'm tired of this stuff. So those are the people that you start seeing become pre-diabetic. And then those numbers will show up when they start doing, their blood work. Their A1C level will start being elevated in their blood work because they have too much glucose in their bloodstream because the insulin just isn't doing its job anymore. So again,
is it possible? Because obviously, I mean, like if you walk into, any pharmacy or whatever, like you see, like the number one thing you see, like if you go up to the counter, that's like front of the counter is stuff around diabetes, which obviously for the most part is type 2 diabetes.
Right.
Is it possible for somebody to, like, if their A1C was elevated and they were pre-diabetic or even diabetic, to actually reduce, or to like, rid themselves of diabetes? Or once you have diabetes,
so here's the way I look at it. Type 2 diabetes, you create, but it's also preventable, and you can also reverse it. Type 1 diabetes is where your pancreas just doesn't work anymore. If you're a type 1 diabetic, you're just a type 1 diabetic. You're not going to change that. But if you're a type 2 before you get too out of control, you can actually reverse that. So we've seen people, get off of their glucophage and different, diabetes medications just by increasing their exercise, starting to eat better, and bringing that A1C level down. Just
and how would they do that?
Like your lifestyle.
Does that mean like, okay, no fruits at all, no rice, no potato? Like if somebody's in that position, do they need to almost completely cut out carbs other than like lettuce and?
Well, what we do is they'll bring their carbohydrates down to typically about a 20% range. So they'll eat complex carbohydrates. They can eat a small amount of fruit, just don't overeat fruit. Fruit's very healthy for you. People should be eating fruit. It's one of those food groups that, you don't want to eliminate. But again, if that's your situation, you're going to keep the carbohydrates lower. You're going to keep the protein and the fats a little bit higher. The proteins and the fats are also going to give you that satiety where you're going to feel a little more satisfied, after your meals. But you still need that little bit of carbohydrate in your system, because remember, your brain's going to run on that glucose. And when you're exercising, your body actually goes through a cycle. You can look at it's called the Krebs cycle, to where your body is starting. It's kind of like a little spark plug to get your body into that fat burning zone. So that's why I don't have people do fasted cardio. I'll have them have a little bit of carbohydrate, unless they're a competitor, which is a whole different world. But typically I'll get people like, oh, I'm doing fasted cardio. I'm like, you need to stop, because what you're doing is you're just burning muscle. You're getting lighter because you're losing muscle. That fasted cardio isn't working for you. So you need that little bit of carbohydrate to give you that spark to get through the Krebs cycle, to get you into the fat burning cycle. So it's almost like that little bit of carbohydrate is like that little fast walk and that little jog before you run, and that fat's that run. So ideally, that'll take about 20 to 30 minutes of exercise, and then your body starts increasing the amount of fat that it's actually using as a power source. So look at it this way. It's carbohydrates. It's a fuel that burns at 4 calories per gram. Fat burns at 9 calories per gram, but you've got to get your body to that fat burning state. So you have to follow the proper pathways to do that, or it doesn't happen. Or think about this, Todd. Nobody be walking around overweight. Everybody be ripped if it was really as simple as just doing fasted cardio, just simple as doing fasted cardio or cutting the carbohydrates out. If all these little tricks and little methods worked, there wouldn't be as many overweight people. Problem is, they don't work. The diets don't work. That's why so many people are overweight now. The bottom line is you have to be balanced. You have to be methodical. You have to be individualized. You have to know what works for your body. And here's the big one, brother. You got to be consistent. It doesn't happen overnight. You got to be consistent. You got to do it day after day, month after month, year after year. My programs now, like one-on-one programs. I don't take one-on-one clients anymore. My schedule's packed. I'm kind of moving into my retirement phase, and that's kind of part of it. But with online clients, I don't take any client for less than a year. You come into my program, you're in the program for a minimum of a year, because I know we're going to spend 3 or 4 months just changing those screwed up habits that you've had for the last 15 years. That doesn't happen overnight. So we got to change those habits, create the consistency. Now we're 6, 7 months down the road. Now you're really only working into your program for 3 or 4 months before that year is up. but now you're getting somewhere. Because think about this. So, if you want your physique to be like my physique when you're 65 years old, you have to adopt my operating system. So basically you have to create this. I always tell people, it's like, if you have somebody you want to look like, somebody you follow, that's your dream body, that's your goal body. You literally have to become that person's habits. When you become that person's habits, then you're going to start getting that person's results. But as you know, changing habits is not an easy thing, because you always got your old habits trying to creep back in.
Oh, I know, bro. I mean, it's so funny. Like, I know, like, I'll just be super blunt. Like, I know that for me, like, alcohol is a trigger.
Right.
Like, I can be, get up in the morning, hit the gym, have some egg whites and spinach and maybe some goat cheese, whatever, feeling good, a cup of coffee, lunch. I have, chicken breast and a salad or something. And then at night, like 5:30, I'm pouring myself a martini. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, pepperoni pizza. And I can eat the whole fucking pizza, man. I mean, it's so stupid. And then I feel like hell. Like, I get done with it. I'm just like, I'm literally on the couch, like hugging a pillow. And I'm like, why did I do that? And then, so I'm just bringing that up, and I'm just being really raw with people, because like, if you got to know what your weak point is. And the other thing, and it drives my wife nuts. I mean, like, I'll wake up at like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning to pee, and I find myself in the kitchen, and I'm like, eat a piece of cheese or something. And I don't go in there and like microwaving stuff and making a full meal, but I'm like, why? And it's like, I don't even think I'm sleepwalking. I think I'm conscious of it, but it's been a hard habit for me to break, man.
You just said the magic word. It's a habit. You do it out of habit. You don't even think about it.
Yeah. And even while I'm doing it, I'm opening up the refrigerator. I'm like, why am I even doing this? But it's crazy. It's like, it's like I'll wake up, and I'm hungry. Like, even like this morning, for example, I woke up, 5:30, and I woke up and I was like hungry this morning, which isn't the case every morning, but I was hungry. I didn't eat anything. I went straight to yoga and came back. And then, about an hour and a half after yoga, I had a healthy, breakfast. And, now I'm not, starving again, but, yeah, dude, like, breaking those habits is not easy.
It's huge. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. And when you think about your life as a whole, Todd, when you create rituals around those habits, and those things become ingrained in your brain, and you get that dopamine fix from them. It makes you feel good. So you'll do the habit that leads you to the ritual that gets you the dopamine. You feel good, even though you just did some stuff to destroy your program. So what you have to do is take the time consciously to change the habits. You also have to know what those triggers are. And then you have to have some kind of you have to have some kind of action against that trigger when it happens. So you do something else. And a lot of my clients, I train majority women. So, a lot of times we're dealing with, emotional issues, and guys have them too. Let me just throw a disclaimer out there. Some of the guys I train and talk about emotional. Oh man, come on. But what happens is, when that self-talk, man, controls so much of what we do. Now we're always questioning and answering questions constantly, 24 hours a day. I mean, you pull up to a light. Do I stop or do I go? Just ask yourself a question. Food, do I eat it or do I not? You feel hunger. Okay, now you need to recognize that hunger. Okay, am I hungry, or is this an emotional trigger that wants me to eat something to feed something that's going on with emotions, stress, or whatever in my life? And this is male or female. And some people do it with alcohol to be like, oh, I need a drink. Some people will be like, hey, I need a chocolate donut. So the idea is when you have that trigger, that you stop and you think about it. This has to be conscious. That's why I say when I work with someone, the first 3 or 4 months, that's the stuff that we're working on, because you don't even realize that it's happening, because it's subconscious. It's part of your psyche. It's just something that you do. So you're like, oh, wait, I recognize that. What's the reason I feel this certain way that's going to make me go do this certain thing? Okay, I'm going to do this instead. And a lot of times it just comes right down to the self-talk. You know, how often do people tell themselves, you failed at that, you're a loser, you always fail, every time you do this, you fail, forget it, man. You know what? I just stopped at, by someone's desk at the office, ate a handful of M&Ms. I just crashed and burned my program. I'm an idiot. I'm going to stop. I'm just going to try again next week. Okay. That's not the right thing. The proper thing to do is, yeah, you know what? I just stopped by the desk. I grabbed a handful of M&Ms. I did it before I even thought about it, but I'm going to be right back on my next meal, exactly what I'm supposed to have. And by the end of the day, I'm 100% back on my program. And I'm not an idiot. I'm doing this because I'm learning a new process. I'm getting better. I'm on my way to new results. I'm going to get that body that I always wanted. So again, it's all back to what you're telling yourself when those triggers happen and what you do about that self. So, if it's a drink, you may say, hey, you know what? Instead of having that drink, you know what? I'm going to grab a rice cake with some peanut butter on it. I just need to have that action of doing something. I need to get that satiety from something, So again, it's catching that trigger and making a new decision. Catch that trigger and make a new decision. Once you start doing that, all of a sudden your habits are going to start changing. You're not even going to have the trigger at some certain point. Or if you do, you're going to do something, something else about it right off the bat. And we all deal with it. I deal with it, but it's how fast you react and what you do about it. And that goes just throughout life, man. But so much stuff, bro, comes down to self-talk. If I was going to talk to a room of 5 million people, the first thing would come out of my mouth would be, what did you say to yourself this morning when you woke up? If it wasn't, I'm freaking awesome and I'm going to kill this day, we need to have a conversation. Get out your pencil and paper, you know? And I always tell people, when you think about, I see my business right here, Beyond Bodyz. Heather and I went through a whole process in 1998 to name our business because we realized that we're working with people on their physiques, but it went so far beyond the physique to actually get the physique. You got to work through all this other stuff to get the physique and be able to keep the physique. So we named our business Beyond Bodyz. So now we know, okay, we got to deal with all this stuff, create these changes, create new habits. But it all, again, goes back to the self-talk. And I always tell people, if you wake up in the morning, you walk in your bathroom and you look at yourself in the mirror and you go, crap, dude. It's like, oh man, dude, you need to lose some weight. If you're saying to yourself, that's the first thing out of your mouth every single morning, how's the rest of your day going to be?
Yeah.
Your day needs to start with the most positive self-talk. We're going to kill this motherfucker. Excuse my language on your podcast. We're going to kill it. We're going to do what it takes, whatever it takes. I'm the best. Yeah, well, I may not be the best right now, but I'm on my way to being the best because I'm going to do the right things today. Now you're on your way to lighten your world on fire. When you light your world on fire, you're going to start lighting the people around you on fire, man. But if you're walking in because you're like, oh, man, I need to lose some weight. I feel like crap. Oh, dude, I'm tired this morning. Oh, God, I'm going to go back to bed. I need to hit my snooze alarm for another 10 minutes. You know what, man? Every morning I get up, bro. I'm 65 years old. I get up 2:30 in the morning, dude.
Dude,
and I'm not.
What time do you go to bed?
7:30, 8 o'clock, sometime 9. I'm tired. I'm tired by then. I'm tired. Well, see, because the thing is, man, I train my first. I'll train my first client at either 4 or 5. Wow. I got to take care of me first, bro.
Yeah.
I got to do my rituals first.
Yeah, agreed. It's crazy. So for last, I don't know, probably 4 years, I've been doing yoga. That's been my morning workout. And for me, it's good for just sweating, flexibility, mental health for sure. Just, I feel better having, got up and done yoga. And
Yep.
I like this morning I go in this class and the class was packed. I mean, there was I think there was 32 people in the room and it was warm. I mean, it's not hot yoga, but it's probably 80 something degrees, all that body heat, people moving. By the time we got done, I don't even know if it was probably over 90. Everybody was just, I mean, I couldn't have gotten sweatier. Like every single fiber in the clothing that I had was wet. And there were so many times where I was like, man, like I'm like literally in a position and my arm is like shaking and I'm quivering and I want to lay down. And my brain is saying, just lay down, get into child's pose. But then I'm like, then I get like I was in triangle, or I was in I think I was in triangle pose. And I was like, wait, I see all these other people and I want to lay down, but nobody else is laying down. I'm not going to lay down. And the crazy thing is, if I did that same freaking class out here, like on live stream, I would have been laying down.
Right.
Like so I know for me, like I got to be like in some kind of like that group pressure, which is like, even like I run this A-team deal, which about that I've done for years. And one of the reasons that thing works is because it's 100 to 300 people that are all committing for 90 days to work on their habits, and that group pressure of, stepping up to perform makes most people perform more. I know it does me.
That accountability.
Yeah.
It's accountability, which converts into expectation. The other part of it is discipline, man. My new saying, man, is just like, I just want to go print this on every shirt I got. Discipline equals, I'm sitting here pulling the blank here. Discipline equals confidence. So when you've been disciplined in something and you've been disciplined, you get the result. That creates confidence. And then when you're moving through life with confidence, it changes everything. And so you go into that class, you're going, well, you know what? I know all these people are going to do it. I'm not going to be the guy that quits. All of a sudden you have that confidence because you know that you made it last time.
Yeah.
But it took discipline for you not to say, you know what? I'm going to lay down. I'm going to be like, hey, I think I'm having a heart attack over here. You know what I mean?
I literally did a video like before we like, I had a request in one of my coaching groups about developing confidence. And I'm like, dude, the correlation between competence, like skill level, like the more skilled you are, the more comfortable you are with what you're doing, your confidence is going to rise, So
yeah, absolutely.
It's like if I walked into yoga the very first time and I'd never done yoga, I would have zero confidence. I don't know what any of these positions are, or breathing, or any of this stuff.
Right.
But you do it repetitively over and over again. You develop the skill set, the knowledge, the know-how,
like
and all of a sudden you feel better about it.
Tony Robbins say repetition is the mother of skill.
Yeah.
You know, and that's absolutely right. But that repetition, you're also having discipline. With that discipline, you're creating confidence. And the biggest thing that you're creating out of those is freedom. So when you have discipline, you have confidence. Now you've just created freedom for yourself. I feel like, well, what do you mean by that, coach? I'm like, okay, in my coaching program, in my meal program, it's an 80-20 plan, meaning 80% of the time you're staying right with your meal plan. The other 20%, you have the freedom to use macros. So that means you can go out and eat some of the other things that you want to eat. But you get that because you did your discipline part over here. Discipline is not a bad thing. Discipline is a good thing. People think of discipline, they think about getting their butt beat. You know what I mean? No, discipline is a good thing. Disciples, you ever hear of the disciples?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So discipline is a good thing. And discipline creates good things, because when you're disciplined, then you get the fruit, man. You get the fruit. So I tell people, you stick to that meal plan 80% of the times. You want date night. You want to go out with your friends on the weekend. You decide, man, I would just really like to have some pancakes for breakfast. You can do it without the destroyer. You know what the destroyer is?
What's that?
Guilt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's guilt, because as soon as you go out and do something that wasn't on your plan, if you don't have the right mindset, what that's going to do is going to create guilt. And then once you create guilt, the next thing that's going to happen is shame, because you're like, oh man, I'm guilty. And then the people that you're feeling guilty around, you'd be kind of shamed for them to find out what you did. Or, people get like that with their coaches. They'll be guilty with their coach, and they'll feel ashamed to go to the coach and say, hey, they had pizza the other night. I want my people to come to me like, hey, coach, you know what? I crushed my meal plan Monday through Friday. I went out, I had some pizza, and it was freaking delicious. I went to the gym on Sunday morning. I had them extra calories in there. I had that refeed. I crushed it, coach. I crushed it. I mean, and that's what we want. It creates a positive mindset. So you got to stay away from all that stuff that leads you into that negativity. But the only way you do that is being disciplined. So, I mean, you want to know what lack of discipline does? Look at the world we have around us right now. Oof. It's lack of discipline. People don't want discipline. They just want to do whatever they want. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. We got to have some discipline, especially when it comes down to our body. And I truly believe that your body controls everything. Again, because what I said about waking up in the morning and looking at yourself. Even if you're not where you want to be, you get up in the morning and you're like, man, you know what? I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not where I was, and I'm on my way to get there. Let's do it. Let's go get it. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, brother. Hey, let me ask you a question as we get ready to wrap this thing up. So like right now, are you like, I think you're coaching primarily women that want to be in like competition shape, regardless of whether they're competing or not. Isn't that kind of like your focus? But like, what if somebody like myself or somebody in their 40s or 50s, like, dude, like I want to like follow this guy and learn. Do you coach other people? Or are you?
Absolutely. And Todd, I'm really, really blessed. I mean, Heather and I have always kind of been loners out with our fitness business. And I've got a guy that I've mentored for the last 10 years that we actually just bought him as a coach that's working with us, and he's working with a lot of my guys. And literally asking this guy a question, he'll give you an answer. You'll think I answered the question. Like I said, I've mentored him for 10 years. I've still got guys that, that I work with, absolutely, man. We're not going to turn anybody with the right mindset away. Okay. Now, if you're coming to me, if somebody comes to me and they're a person that I need to convince they need to do something to change their life, that's not my person. If I get somebody that comes to me, I don't care if they never walked in a gym in their life and they're like, I'm committed to do whatever it takes to change my life. And I know I need to start with my health. That's my person right there. That's my person. But just like I said, when you look at my marketing and my branding right now, it's all for the competition look. It's all for that female program. And that's just because it's a marketing decision to like stay out of the red ocean with like all the other coaches trying to, get every single person that they can, so we're marketing to this one person. And then I truly believe that it happens organically and God brings me the people that I need to work with, so there's a lot of guys in the house. And another thing you'll find with my clients, bro, they stay with me for years. I mean, I literally have clients that have been with me for a couple of decades, and these people, they're clients that are probably better trainers than the majority of trainers out there, but they stay for the accountability and they're like, man, you know what? You're 65 years old. You're still doing this. I want to get to where you're at. I want to keep following you. I'm just going to keep doing what you're doing, and you're here when I need you. I have a very high level of accountability and communication with my clients. I went back to what I hear people complain about, with other trainers and, other online training programs. The biggest thing is they can't ever get a hold of anybody. You got these trainers out there, they're training 3,000 people online. How do you service anybody? You can't.
3,000.
Yeah. You can't, so, people get a hold of us. We communicate, we got that accountability. And again, man, we lead the ship by example. We lead the ship by example. And I think that is so important, man. Just so important. Because if I believe in it that strongly and I know that it works, I can tell you without a doubt, I can tell you with absolute certainty, you do what I tell you to do, barring any medical stuff or whatever, it's going to work. Okay. And if it's not working, I know you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I'm going to call you out. I mean, my people don't check in on my coaching app. Guess what? They get the phone call that they don't want. And you know what? They don't want the phone call, so they make sure they keep going.
Yeah, I like that. That's true accountability, bro. Hey, so what if somebody wanted to scope you out, like what's your website?
So what I would have them do is go to Beyond Bodyz, and Bodyz is spelled BODYZ.net. And you go to beyondbodyz.net, little tab right at the top. You click on it. You can get right onto my schedule and right on a phone call with me.
Sweet.
Absolutely. We have a conversation. We're going to have a conversation. And at the end of the conversation, you're going to hate my guts. Or you're going to think I'm the greatest guy in the world.
Yeah, I think you're a pretty lovable soul, man. I remember the first time I met you, and we hit it off at that event in Scottsdale, and yeah. So I mean, you guys that are plugging in, I know a lot of people are watching this live, and probably a lot of people will catch this on the podcast and the replay. But yeah, if you're in a stage in your life where you like want to get your ass kicked a little bit, and you're ready to get in better shape and be healthier, there's no better dude than Darryl. So feel free to reach out to him, brother, man. I appreciate you. So super cool to be reconnecting, and congratulations on all of your success. Say hello to Heather for me, and let's connect again soon, man.
And this was awesome. And man, you know what? When I heard from you the other day, dude, I literally got a big smile on my face. And it's funny. And then Heather reminded me, she goes, remember, I was talking about Todd last week. So it's just like, kind of how that universe thing works, man. It was,
yeah, man.
It was awesome. All right, brother. Well, cool, I appreciate you.
Yeah, likewise. All right, guys. So that's a wrap, and we'll see you next time.
All right. You got it, brother.